We add a splash of science here at White Lab Brewing Co. in every beer we brew. Everything from the malt, hops, and water stay the same. The only variable is the yeast strain, really highlighting the importance that yeast play in the overall performance of the beer. And we took this concept, the same beer, different yeast, coast to coast, and visited our friends at Maker's Craft, Elation, and Three Notch'd Brewing. Let's go check them out.
My name's Sarah Greger. I've been brewing professionally for about 1.5 years now. I started at Three Notch'd in Charlottesville, and now I'm working here at our new location in Virginia Beach. Well, so the whole point of this collab is to, use the same recipe at 3 different breweries with 3 different yeast strains and kind of see what comes out of it. So we chose a blonde so that we could really taste the difference between the different yeast strains. Pretty basic blonde recipe. It's 45% Maris Otter, 45% Pilsner, 8% Vienna, and 2% Melanoidin. We also chose an experimental hop variety called Vista. And then here at Three Notch'd, we chose a Belgian yeast strain to go with it. I used to live in Florida, and I was a bartender at a brewery called Barrel of Monks Brewing. They're 100% Belgian style. Didn't even have an IPA on when I worked there. It's that kind of Belgian. So it's just kind of fun. Since at Three Notch'd we don't normally make a Belgian. We make one triple once a year. So it's fun to kind of get to experiment with Belgian yeast strain, especially with a recipe that I got input on, and it's not just serving it, I get to make the whole thing. So.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lowney. This is Maker's Craft Brewery. I'm the head brewer, and I've been brewing for 22 years or more. And our beer styles, they range from pale ales to barrel-aged beers. And we always have, I like to always have a wide variety of styles on and bringing in new styles. So our newest one is our Italian Pilsner.
My name's Scott, and I'm with Maker's Craft Brewery. Been here a little over 1 year. Started brewing with some friends when I was in San Diego, home brewing. And then when I moved here, I was in the Coast Guard. When I moved here, started hanging out here, met a friend that was the assistant at the time, and kind of was just hey, if I can hang out and learn on this big scale, production scale type brewing, then, anytime you need help, let me know. When Michelle told me about this collaboration beer and, working with Elation and Three Notch'd, doing a blonde ale, I'm really looking forward to how this blonde turns out.
And the yeast strain we chose was a Old English yeast strain. We decided to do that because, blonde ales originated out there, and we thought it would be an interesting flavor to go with the hops that we picked.
My name is Bob Sweeney. I'm the brewer here at Elation Brewing.
My name is Kenny Van Hook. I'm one of the owners here at Elation Brewing. Originally, it was kind of a backyard concept to get into the beer business and something we all, of course, loved and adored. Like so many other people, life-changing kind of events got us kind of into it, and then we started looking for a place that was different, stylistically, architecturally. The idea of having something that, there's a lot of good product out there, but let's also have a great product, great customer service, and a different environment, a unique environment that's more conducive to inclusivity and just more relaxation and togetherness.
So we had a Zoom call, I think, and we all started talking about different styles that would be fun to showcase a yeast. blonde ale came up, and we all kind of thought that might be a good clean beer to show what the yeast variations can be in a simple beer like that. I kind of chose the Aussie Ale yeast, one, because kind of cool to get a strain out of the vault, and I thought for blonde ale, Australian pale ale kind of might be a good fit.
Hey everybody, I'm excited to be here, although I'm a little disappointed I don't have the beers in front of me right now. But this collaboration came about in the early stages of planning CBP Connects, our series of in-person workshops this year. Our first event was supposed to be in February in Norfolk, Virginia, my hometown, and a very underrated craft beer city. But we're now hosting that in September. But needless to say, the collaboration carried on. And what the collaboration came to be was Joanne and I with White Labs were chatting probably fall of 2021 about unique ways we could involve the partner breweries for this event. And we're talking Makers Brewing, we're talking Elation Brewing and Three Notch'd Brewing Company, all breweries here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And White Labs obviously produces great yeast. So we had the idea that each brewery could brew the same base recipe with a different yeast strain to kind of see how that turned out and taste them side by side. And the beers have been brewed. The workshop will be in September, and we're here today.
It was really fun to brew it. Our fermentation went pretty quick, very clean. Really happy with it. We did find that although the Vista hops, they say that there's mango and pineapple, and I can't remember some of the other flavors now. We pretty much got green tea, straight up green tea. And we used a Essex ale strain. It's a vault strain from White Labs that we chose. Traditional kind of English style ale yeast. And it worked really well. I mean, the beer's really clean, very good flavor to it. And it allowed the hops to really come through.
Like you were saying, you were using WLP 022 Essex Ale. I'm going to pour myself a beer as well for this. Yeah, what other note and fermentation profiles did you get off of this beer?
I get a little bit of drying, but I don't get some of the, in other English ale strains where you might get some of the more fruity note to it. I don't really get that at all in here. Like this would be like, for me, I think it's a great all around yeast strain. It doesn't have anything that's predominant in it. And I don't know if some of that drying is just from the hop flavor, you know, but like you say, like I get it, it's clean, and I get the, like I'm having green tea.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like the malt bill comes out where it reminds me of like a British pub where it has that like sweetness in the back end.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and really clean, like you said. I'm guessing it blocked out pretty quickly. Is that correct?
Yeah, it did. It did. We reused it 3 more times and finally let it die on a braggot. But yeah, the flavor's really good, and we used Marisata malt.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gives it a nice, good full malt background, which I think if we hadn't used something that has more of that body flavor, where if we use something that has like much lighter malt profile to it, I think the hops would have been a little overpowering in this particular beer.
Yeah, like the body, when we poured this yesterday, what was crazy was the body and the head retention of this was outstanding. Like the head on this beer stayed for...
Yeah, it's beautiful lacing on it. It's awesome. I'm really, really happy with this.
Nice, that's awesome to hear.
It's been fun to try Sarah's and Bob's, hear the different yeast in it and compare the strength of the hop flavor and how that hop flavor actually blends with the different yeasts.
Yeah, speaking of all the different beers, should we move on to Bob and a bit of his beer of Golden Road at Elation?
Yeah, so Golden Road, as you can see, it's very, very bright beer. Did kind of take a few extra days to clarify for me than Chico typically does. But once it dropped right, it's a super bright beer. I used WLP09 Australian ale yeast, and I kind of found with this yeast through a little bit of kind of fruity esters, really nice, good clean ale yeast, but little hint of fruit in the back end, and quite enjoyable, strong fermentation. I repitched it into my flagship West Coast IPA, and that came out really, really well. Happy with that. And I've got an Irish Red Ale that I brewed with it as well that's getting released this weekend.
Yeah, Bob, I loved how you said it's very similar to like the Chico or Cali ale yeast, like WLP 001, but it performs like very clean and crisp, but there is that like slight fruitiness that I get like Southern Hemisphere. Once we tasted this yesterday too, we got a bit of white wine characters, like almost like Riesling. That's very like common in like Southern Hemisphere hops as well, where it has
absolutely. And then I haven't tried either of the other beers, so I'm going to taste the Essex right now, and that's a very nice English pub ale kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's really clean. Like you said, like a lot of the English ale strains will give you a little bit of that fruitiness, but this one does not have any of that fruitiness in it, which I really like. And it's funny, Bob mentioned that he did an Irish Red with it. Our second beer with that yeast was an Irish Red. So it's going to be really interesting to come down and try his Irish Red to our Irish Red, even though they're going to be completely different grain bills, but it's the same yeast.
Yeah, that's the fun part, right? Is that generation of same style of a beer but different yeast strains, because we could already see the huge difference the yeast strain makes in just the same recipe.
This is Sarah's. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna let her talk about it before I do. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. But yeah, let's move on to Sarah then.
Comparison side by side is really fun, really neat.
Yeah.
I should pour some of mine. Pitched this yeast when it was at 67 degrees, and I let it free rise up to 72. So use a pretty good, clean Belgian. A lot of green tea comes in at the end from the hops as well. So I think the hops paired surprisingly well with the Belgian strain for kind of being an experiment.
Yeah, I totally agree. The hops with the Belgian yeast of like we got banana bread characteristics, as well as the hops really bring out like the tropical note too with this yeast that I did not see with the other yeast, which was very surprising.
Yeah, I think this beer, for me, I think the hops are the best with this particular yeast strain. Mm-hmm. With the bubble gum and the other fruity aromas and esters, that green tea, I think paired really well with it, and maybe even kind of toned down some of the stronger esters a little bit. But for me, I thought this was like my favorite one for the pairing with the hops.
Yeah, it's so unique because it was a blonde recipe, but
yeah, now I get that more in the aroma.
We thought maybe it could have been like a crystal Weizen or like some other style where you wouldn't suspect a blonde with this yeast strain to produce those aromas. But yeah, I agree that the hops work really well in this Belgian yeast strain. Compared to some of our other Belgian yeast strains, this one's more mild. You get a lot of that sweet bubble gum, but it's not in your face. It's very balanced.
Yeah, it's more like that banana bread, more in the aroma. But it all pairs so well and blends really well.
Yeah, when I described it to people, I would say it's like a pear honey green tea.
That's a good descriptor.
Yeah.
That's a great descriptor. But yeah, I'm glad all three beers came out really, really well. It's so surprising to see, right? Same recipe when you could have three totally different flavor profiles coming off of just from the yeast strain, right? That was the whole idea behind this collaboration, was just seeing that how much yeast play a role in the overall profile of the beer.
This is awesome.
Yeah.